Very fair, very fair.
However, the point I'm trying to get to is that there is need for a rehabilitation center where those who are mentally ill and haven't got activity and no one knows what they want to, they can do or they want to do, can go and be tested and be given an opportunity to develop, instead of going to a whole set of a school that is already designed for other people, not for their particular, not to meet their particular needs.
In other words, it's not enough to get a person with schizophrenia symptom-free. It is equally important to get them to have something to do by day.
Yes.
Now, Mrs. Kanaya, you are a member of various international bodies that look after families of persons with schizophrenia. Tell us about those bodies. What is your position?
At the moment, I am a board member representing Kenya in the World Fellowship for Schizophrenia and Allied Disorders. It is a voluntary organization whose primary duty is to support organizations such as the one we have in Kenya, Schizophrenia Foundation of Kenya, and the one in other countries like Uganda. They have Uganda Fellowship for Schizophrenia. And the main goal of that body, it has its headquarters in Canada, is to support those organizations. And the way of supporting them is giving them moral support and encouraging them to be good, effective in advocating for the wellness of the mentally ill.
I think you have made a number of important points. You have made the point that schizophrenia is a condition that is found within families. You have made the point that people can live with schizophrenia. You have made the point that schizophrenia is a condition that is treatable. You have made the point that sometimes it's a very distressing condition. With that, Mrs. Kanaya, I must thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, for our viewers, you have heard the story of Mrs. Kanaya. It's a story that will provoke some of you to think and to feel certain things. My challenge to you, viewers, is this. Come over. Come to our studios. Talk to us about anything, good, bad, or neutral, as long as you're able to speak to us frankly. From me, good night. It's interesting to say that 5 to 10% of the world is one way or another affected by the problem of drug abuse. Many people argue that because governments get so much money in taxes from cigarette manufacturers and alcohol manufacturers, that this is a good reason to continue producing these substances. The reality is different. The loss that comes from the use of these substances is greater than all the revenue that governments get. Violence is something we are all talking about in our current society. And as you well know, drugs and violence go hand in hand. A lot of people with drug-related problems are unable to be productive economically. In fact, it is true that people who are hooked onto drugs or use various types of drugs are in exceptional or special danger of contracting conditions like AIDS. In this country, we have had a number of problems in schools, where schools have shown various types of violence, and each time violence is mentioned in schools, drugs come into it. In fact, we have come to a point where we as a society must come face to face with this whole question of drugs. With me this evening to discuss this problem, I hope, frankly, are two men, who have come to discuss with us a project that they are involved with, and they will tell us a little bit about it themselves. The first gentleman is Moses Waweru Yefenji. Good evening, Moses.
Good evening.
Say jambo to the viewers.
Good evening, our viewers.
What would you like to say to them? Why have you come here today?
Well, I've come to just speak frankly about drug abuse and to just answer any question that you would want to shoot.
Introduce your friend.
My friend here is Helekia Mediwo.
Helekia?
Mediwo.
Mediwo.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Helekia Mediwo.
Yes.
Helekia is a very unusual name. Where did you get this name from?
Actually, let me first of all say it's not unusual because I've met my namesake. Yeah. Let me call it unique, in the sense that it's rare.
Okay.
Yeah. But just like most of us do, we don't actually have the right to choose what to be called or what to be named. You find that an old person already requested or commanded that you be named after him or her. So actually, I grew up and that was what I was told.
So if I call you Helekia, what will you say?
It's my name.
It's your name.
Yes.
Okay. As a matter of interest, there's a very interesting study in the UK
Yes.
that showed that in some ways the name that you're given determines what you might become in school or in future. Any thoughts on that?
Well, it could be true and it could be untrue, depending on various factors. Yeah.
Have you, for example, found yourself being teased at school because of your name or bullied or anything like that?
Well, actually, I have, because, as young people, or maybe generally people like giving short names to their names. Actually, it's always people find it hard to pronounce. Like, for example, people think it's Hezekiah, not Helekia. So somebody one day asked me, would you mind if I called you Hell?
Your name became Hell.
I didn't allow it to be that.
Yeah.
I couldn't just call me, just let it be full. I don't want hell, because I want to give you hell.
It's actually very interesting. Perhaps you don't know this one, Moses, but there is quite a bit of evidence from science that boys and girls with strange or unusual, he will say unique names, have special difficulties at school. So a name is not just a name. There are instances in which a name can cause its own difficulties. Now, Moses, I've looked at your CV very carefully when you came to see us here, and I see you are 21 years old.
Yes, I am.
Where did you go to school?
I went for my primary school at Catholic Parochial.
What is that?
Primary school. It's a school in the middle of the city center, and it's a Catholic-owned, but not Catholic-run. It's actually, I think it's a, I'm not so sure by now what it is, but I think the church owns the buildings and the Ministry of Education does the teaching.
Okay.
Or there's some
Why do they
similar
call it
arrangement.
parochial?
I have no
For
clue.
it to have produced a person like yourself, it cannot be a parochial school.
I have no idea.
Okay, but I'm sure it might have some meaning that we don't fully appreciate. Now, you were there in 87.
Yes.
Give us a feel of what it was like in 87 to be in Standard 1, Standard 2 in the middle of the city.
Very exciting. And can say it was a nice school to grow up in, right in the middle of the city. And I remember when there were riots in the city, like in 1990, during multipartyism and all of that, they would throw tear gas right next to you and things like that. You had to run out of school. Sometimes you had to close school abruptly. And then again, we didn't have a playground. Our playground was actually the parking lot, so that meant if too many cars parked, then there was not going to be a lot of playing that day. And I think it was a nice school, though. During those days, I think there was a lot of tourism, and so lots of tourists used to come around the school and say hello sometimes and just pass by.
I then see you proceeded on to Aga Khan High School. Yes? There are two Aga Khans. Which one did you go to?
On Wayaki Way.
On Wayaki Way.
Yeah.
Tell us what it was like to be a young teenager growing up in the city of Nairobi. What problems, difficulties, excitements?
Aga Khan High School was very, very interesting and also exciting. It is a day school, so that means I was going home every afternoon and very early in the morning going to school. And right, being in the city, you get to know of each and every little thing that is happening here and there. If there's a sporting activity, you will know.
A lot of parents actually say that my son or my daughter must go to a boarding school because in a day school, they will get spoiled. I know you a little bit. You're not spoiled. How did you survive?
Not.
You're not spoiled, if you say so yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you survive in the city?
Well, I can say that I came out of there smelling of smoke. I did not
Really?
just survive.
Really? What does that mean, smelling of smoke?
Almost got burnt.
Really?
The truth is that there are very many opportunities for people in day schools to do all sorts of things and misbehave, probably. And I know there are also similar opportunities in day schools, but in boarding schools. But in day schools, especially for a school like Aga Khan, which is first of all mixed, there are very many challenges. On your way to school, you're in a matatu, and there's all the music. Say if you were focused in the morning, you might listen to a lot of music, and by the time you get to school, you're not in the mood to learn at all.
But you survived it.
Yes, I did.
Your brother here, Kia, yes, also went to a school here in Nairobi. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit? You went to Kimathi Primary School about the same time.
Yeah.
In what way was your Kimathi Primary School different from the parochial school?
Mine was located in Eastlands area, away from the city center. Unlike them, we had a playing ground. Yeah. Only that we could not get the chance to be visited by tourists. Yeah. But let me say, my first experience in school was very interesting. Very instant one. I was lucky that the day I was admitted, it was the day that people were being issued with the milk, the Nyayo milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I thought, whoa, I mean, this must be good. I mean, my first day, and I'm already being given milk. So before that, already I started missing my mom, missing my dad. But the milk somehow brought me back and gave me, boy, this is cool, and apart from learning, you'll have some milk. So I took it, but I came to realize that the milk could do only temporary things. Then I started again crying, shamefully crying, saying I want to go home. And I told the teacher, but she told me, you just say it, mommy will come. But after a few minutes, I got restless, just ran out, ran out of the school, didn't know where I was going. Then as I was running, I stopped and started walking home. I don't know how, but I was going home. Then I turned back and saw a big boy, probably standard 8 at that time.
Standard 8,
Yeah.
big boy standard 8.
Running after me.
Okay.
I thought, should I run or? And I may just ignore him. Probably he's going home also. Okay? So I just, he came and told me, I've been told to go back. Asking by who? By the teachers. Said, I'm not going back. He grabbed me, put me on his shoulder, took me back to class.
Okay, and here we are, a graduate of Lillian Primary School.
Yeah,
Sorry, second, is that
primary still.
again?
Again.
So you ran away from Kimathi to Lillian.
Actually, I
So the boy
transferred.
didn't catch you.
I went back, then up to standard 5, second term. I transferred out to Lillian Primary School. Yeah, this was again another experience.
All right, tell us about it.
Uh,
As long as you're frank, we'll listen to anything you say.
My first day in a new school, of course, was interesting. I was brought into class by my mom. Of course, after passing to the office, I told, she's a teacher, so she knew the school. She told, just take your son. We went, and she also knew the teacher. So the teacher said, no problem, just leave him here. So I had to stand there, look at the new faces, some making faces at you, some just making your life, showing that you won't have a nice time really for the first days. So I stood there, told to introduce myself, and of course my name, Coast Ripple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, just like you were saying,
Yeah.
Moses? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
What did you say? The whole class was like, what did you say? I had to repeat 3 times for them to at least know that I have a name. Yeah. Then they got to ask me from which school, what number were you. Then, interestingly, people sit according to their numbers. So they asked me, so what number were you last time? I told them. So then,
What
sit
was
here.
your number?
Number 3.
Number 3, okay.
So I had to sit behind the number 1 now. 1, 2, then now 3. Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. I think actually there's a point I would like to make to the viewers about the first day at school
Yes.
in Kimathi, because every so often we get to see children either in standard 1, 2, or 3 or in secondary school who have what we call the school refusal syndrome, which is a syndrome in which the children go to school or don't go to school, because that's what it is, because of an intense fear of being at school. And the worst thing you parents can do to your children in this situation is to beat them up. And part of the reason that happens, as you now know because I've taught you this, is that sometimes it's a fear of the child being separated from the mother. For example, if there's a problem at home between the parents, the child is afraid if he or she goes to school, war will take place and his mom or his dad will injure or harm the other one. It's an interesting situation. Now, Moses, you are now involved in a project. It's called SCAD.
Yes.
What is SCAD?
SCAD is a Students' Campaign Against Drugs, a non-governmental organization that was formed in 1997 by former students of Upper Hill School. Now, the reason why SCAD was formed is because the founders of SCAD felt that, having been in also a day school, there was a little bit too much of drug taking here and there, and they felt that they wanted to do something about the situation. So they formed this organization, and their intention was to go back to their school, having gained some knowledge on the dangerous effects of drugs, and to try and discourage their peers from engaging in risk practices, which they knew very well could cause a lot of harm and destruction. Yeah.
Now, you've been a member of SCAD for 2 years?
I think 2, 3.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the things that you have experienced as being a SCAD person. What have you learned? What difficulties have you had?
Okay. First of all, I have learned a lot. I have learned a lot because I joined SCAD immediately after my high school, and I didn't know much. I didn't know anything
Some
about.
people say you still don't know much until you can persuade them otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, go on then.
I didn't know much. I mean, other than what I had learned in school, I didn't know much about drugs, and I went through a training program, and after the training program, I of course knew a lot about drugs, and other than the day-to-day activities of SCAD, which I think I need to explain a little bit about what SCAD does.
All right, go on. It's your program, not mine.
What we do is that we go into schools and we talk to young people. We have what we call discussive sessions, where we bring up, say, a drug like alcohol, which is a drug. Most people dispute that, but alcohol is a drug. And having brought up the issue, we list down the, say, advantages of taking alcohol. We let the young people themselves tell us why they would want to take alcohol, why they take alcohol, or why they think other people would want to take alcohol. And then we also then talk about the disadvantages and the reasons as to why they take alcohol, and then the dangers. And after that, we challenge them to make a decision. Of course, the disadvantages and the dangers greatly outweigh the advantages of taking these drugs. And we, at the end of the day, let the students make the decision themselves not to take these drugs, although this time they do have a lot of information and they can make an informed choice.
You, Helkiawa, at Dagoretti High School.
Yes.
You are now involved in this program of drugs, yes? Just take yourself back to, say, Form 2 or 3. What do you see with respect to drug abuse or usage in your old school? Or in a school like your old school?
Well, as we all should be aware of, there is a drug problem in most of our schools, if not all. Now, back to my old school. You realize that when you enter Form 1, there's a particular people you end up with until maybe Form 4. And it's like when you are in Form 3, when people now take up shape, you surely realize that person, this is what he is. That one, this is what he has never been. So at Form 3 level, it's where you find that people actually now be what they were not, or rather what they want to be. You find that it's at that point that many people now maybe start taking drugs, doing some things that they never did before as maybe junior students, as they're called in high schools. Yeah, so actually, that point is very, very crucial in somebody's high school life.
Tell us, what kind of drugs are we talking about?
We are talking about tobacco, mostly alcohol, and to a lesser extent, bang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell the viewers about things you have read. Tell our viewers about things that you have seen or saw in school at that time.
Well, there was a lot of peer pressure, desire to belong and to actually win the so-called bad boys or tough guys favor. And this entailed doing some of the things that they did. For example, smoking what they smoke, rather doing what they did, maybe even spying for them. While spying, I mean maybe tipping them, maybe when you as somebody, maybe you know you overheard maybe a teacher's plan to do an inspection or something like that. Just tip them.
You know, there's something that I'm not entirely sure.
Yes.
You say that there's peer pressure to do drugs.
Yes.
The pressure must come from somebody.
Definitely.
Yes. What kind of people are the originators of this negative pressure, if you like?
Well, it's from people among themselves, your peers. Yeah, it's like I said in school, people form cliques.
Okay, pressurize me to do something. How would you go about it? How do you? All right, perhaps I'm too old, but pressurize Moses to smoke or to drink. What do you tell him?
What I would first of all start by identifying his interest.
Okay.
If him and mine meet, there it is. Just need to do a little bit of
Do it. Go on. Do it. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
It could be kind of hard because he was in day school, and some of the things that interest our border wouldn't be much.
Okay. Okay.
But let me give a picture, like in school. When you are border, the first thing that you realize that you really want to shake off but you can't is homesickness.
Okay.
Desire for the food and the warm bed and all these things. Nobody to tell you what time to wake up. So somebody will come and tell you, how do you love school? I hate it. Why? Prefects, teachers, books, having to wake up, somebody telling you to make your bed. So somebody tells you, do you know there's a way out of it all? Or do you know that there's some of the way that you can relax? And he tells you, come and see me at 4, behind a certain latrine or somewhere, and I'll give you something. Then there you initiated, or he could tell you, this is a certain school, they're called sister schools, schools that actually find that your school relates to, of course, of the opposite sex. You are told, if you want to make a mark in that school, try this. They love people who do this, or who go to functions under influence of such. So there you are. You are all you are.